Okay, well, I guess we're back today with another horror sequel that was much better than the last one. Here we go. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, was released in 1986, directed by Tom McLaughlin, starring Tom Matthews. And just like The Exorcist 3, which was the first review for the day, this movie is awesome. um, like I said when I reviewed Part 4, if you ask just about any Friday the 13th fan what their favorite in the franchise is, they're either going to tell you Part 4 or Part 6. And there's a damn good reason why, because this movie fucking rocks. So let's go ahead and jump into this review, starting off with the good. First of all, you have Tom Matthews in this movie as an older version of Tommy Jarvis. And after his handling in Part 5 was just unmemorable to me, I felt like this really brought the character back to why I liked him in Part 4. Now, obviously, this isn't the same type of Tommy that we got in Part 4. He's much older, he's much more jaded. But I really like the way Tom Matthews plays the character. He's just as great as Corey Feldman was in Part 4. And I just really loved following this character. I wish that Tommy had become more prominent in the later films in this franchise. Because they kind of just forgot about him after this movie, unfortunately. But I would have loved to see Tommy in a more expanded light in these later films. But either way, it was really great to see him again in this movie. And then you have Jason. He is officially back in this movie. He's brought back from the dead in the opening scene. And I really love this version of Jason. Zombie Jason, as he's become known. Really great Jason. C.J. Graham does the physical performance as Jason. And I thought that he did a damn fine job as Jason. Kane Hodder is more synonymous with Jason because he's done the most movies as Jason. That his era starts in the next movie, but I feel like C.J. Graham is very underrated, mainly because he was the last one before Kane Hodder took over. But I really like this version of Jason. This is probably my favorite version of Jason, honestly. Rivaled only by another Jason, which I will talk about later in this review series. But like I said, C.J. Graham, really great as Jason. And you get a lot of really great kills in this movie. Now, granted, this movie is not as gory as past entries. I think that they had to water it down for some reason. But it's still not short-handed on the carnage when we do get it. And the kills are very over-the-top and creative, like these movies are known for. And there's a really great sequence in an RV, really great sequence, probably my favorite of the entire movie. And that's another thing I like about this movie. It's not just the same setting. You get different set pieces, different areas that they go to. And eventually it does come to a conclusion at Crystal Lake. Obviously, you can't have a Friday movie without Crystal Lake. It's just sacrilegious, I feel like. But either way, I really loved all the settings that we get in this movie and all the wacky antics that Jason gets up to on his way to Crystal Lake. And I really loved the fact that this movie just went over the top with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of silly moments in this movie, and I just really love the fact that they leaned into the cheesiness and the campiness of this franchise finally in this movie instead of trying to take it too seriously. Of course, there was still cheesy and campy moments in the previous movies, but this is the movie that I feel truly embraced the campiness. And I just really love how they handled it all. And on top of all that, the camera works really great. The set design is amazing. I really love the third act with Tommy fighting Jason at Crystal Lake and eventually tying the stone around his neck and drowning him in the lake, which is kind of the most iconic Jason defeat in this franchise, where he's buried at the bottom of Crystal Lake and he's just floating there. a lot of people love that, and I love that as well. So it's a really great scene. And also, the score really elevates this movie. The soundtrack is amazing. You get some really great songs in this movie. And aside from all that, that's about all for the good. On to the bad. And really, there's nothing particularly super wrong with this movie. But I do feel like it goes on a little long. They take a little too long to defeat Jason at the end. And also, there's a character in this movie that I wish they hadn't killed off. But what are you going to do about it? Either way, I really like this movie. So that's about all for the bad. On to the final thoughts. Uh, like I said, this movie fucking rules. I love this movie. It's one of the best in the Friday the 13th franchise. Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, is easily a badass movie with a great Jason performance and great kills, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Have you seen this movie yet? Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it if you have seen it. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.